You need to watch more TikTok. You need to watch more. That 2 hour documentary you watched yesterday wasn't enough. Don't kid yourself. You want to start going to the gym, but you don't know the best scientific workout split. You're going to embarrass yourself, lad. I sound like a retard, don't I? Because I am. I do sound like a retard. Because you know yourself, especially if you started going to the gym, that there is no such thing as a perfect workout split. There is no such thing as the perfect exercises. Yet, we, especially me, when I started going to the gym, were looking for perfection. Let me tell you an embarrassing story. I saw my friends had started going to the gym. Okay? I saw the people online getting big, swole, shredded, and they were picking up the girls and all that there. So I was like, oh, naturally, I want to start going to the gym as well. So as you do, you go on TikTok, you look up, right, gym exercises. What workout should I do in the gym? And if you've ever done this, you know that there's 100 different people telling you different things. One guy's saying push pull legs. One guy's saying only cables. One guy's saying, oh, but you have to have functional muscles. The other guy's saying, oh, you don't want to build empty muscles. One guy's saying use momentum. One guy's saying don't use momentum. So you can imagine, for me, I literally just want to start going to the gym. Okay, I just need something really basic, but I fell down this rabbit hole of perfection. And this is a niche reference. I don't know if any of you guys will get it. It might be beyond your time. But if you guys know Athlean X, this guy was the worst for it. He'd be like, oh, if you wipe your ass with your left hand, you're killing your gains. Now comment down below if you know Athlean X, because that guy, he stopped me from going to the gym for like 2 months at least. But you might have thought I was lazy. And yeah, to an extent I was lazy, okay? Because obviously researching about the thing is a lot easier than actually doing the thing, okay? I've said this before. But I think it stems from a different reason. I think it comes from school. Now, I'm not big into this hating school, okay? School is really, really important, especially for careers like becoming a doctor, becoming a surgeon, becoming an architect, because you need to know these things before you go into a surgery room, okay? But here's the problem. When you're in school and when you're doing exams, especially if you're in an Asian household, you're chasing perfection. Again, another story, okay? I remember when exams would be coming out in school. Okay, so we'd have an exam week, it might be Christmas exams. And obviously everyone's preparing, or most people are preparing, especially the guys in the Asian households, you know, your Indians, your Egyptians, all those, right? We were studying hours on end. And then the exam would come out. And I remember there's plenty an exam where I felt like I aced it. You know what I mean? You have that good feeling when you walk out and then you go home and your parents are like, oh, how'd the exam go? And you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? I aced that shit, you know what I mean? And the results come out. People are opening up their results and they're saying 70, 80%. And boys are going out for dinner. The parents are taking them out for dinner because they got 70%. Which is great. It's great, like. I'd open my result. 95%. My friends would be like, bro, you got 95%, why aren't you smiling? Because I knew when I'd go home and show the result to my parents, they wouldn't be smiling like the other parents. They'd ask me, where did the other 5% go? And it sounds like I'm making a joke here, but genuinely, when you're on that high of, again, you know, feeling so good walking out of the exam hall, and again, 95%, you feel like, alright, I'm going to show this to my parents, I did a good job. And you go home, they're like, did you not study for this exam? How come you only got 95? And it sounds so cringe, but bro, that broke me, especially when I was in them younger years, first and second year. That broke me on the inside. Because bear in mind, at this stage as well, I was basically a loser outside of school, right? Exams and grades and points was all that I had going for me. And I realized I couldn't even do that right. That broke me. So the next day, I wouldn't be studying for 2 hours, it'd be 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Eventually I'd implement studying before school, so my mind is fresh. But you know yourself, you're never going to get to perfection. And the worst part about it is whenever I did get 100%, apparently that was an easy exam. So you can see now, and I feel like a lot of people, especially if you grew up like me in an Asian household, you had the same thing going on. And this is really, really good for certain careers, like becoming a doctor, as I said, become a surgeon, okay, where you need to know your stuff, okay? But for other careers, for other endeavors, as I said, like going to the gym, right now, for creating content, it's much more beneficial for you to actually go and do the thing first and learn along the way. But because I grew up a little traumatized, AJ, with the thought of exams in the back of my mind, I thought that every time I started something new, it was like an exam. If I went into the gym and I only did a 95% effective workout, then I'd failed. Obviously, you know yourself now that if you did a 95% effective workout, that's great. You've done class. But I didn't feel the same way. And it was only when my friends pulled me out of the house and forced me to go to the gym that I realized, yeah, a lot of this stuff wasn't mentioned in the YouTube videos and the TikToks. Because there might have been an exercise. For example, the bicep curl, okay? Everyone said this is the best exercise. But me personally, for my body, it didn't really suit me. I felt uncomfortable. And there's a different exercise that's actually more effective for me. That's my first time really realizing that, damn, there's more to action than just researching. I don't need to know 100% before I start something new. But it's still, that, you call it trauma, I don't really like to call it trauma, but that scarring event from when I was younger, it still haunts me. I thought I was past this, all right? Until I started creating content. And I realized, this is the same thing all over again. I was scared to pick up the camera and record because I knew that it wasn't going to be perfect. So what did I do instead? I watched TikToks on how to make the best TikTok. And people are saying, you gotta match the SEOs, you gotta use this caption, you gotta use this hashtag. But I realized I wasn't getting anything done. And I realized that I was falling into the same trap again. Something I like to call decision paralysis, action paralysis, research paralysis. You're in paralysis, you're in a coma. Consuming more and more and more so that you might get to perfection one day. But that day never comes. So I just wanted to highlight this for you today. Because you might just think you're lazy. You might just think you've got nothing going for you. That you're never going to be perfect. You can never start that new thing that you want to be doing. You're never going to make new friends because you don't know the top 7 conversation starters. I just want to tell you, it's not entirely your fault. Consider the experience I had. Maybe you might have had a similar experience in your life. And just accept and acknowledge it. And next time you have this feeling that you want to procrastinate, that maybe you're not ready to start something just yet, remember. But that's not the case. Some things, you have to take the first step, and you learn more from your first failure than you will hundreds of hours of research. Hopefully this helps. God bless.